Hello all. Today I will be trying to explain to you some basic facts on radiobiology and the basics of radiation. Okay, so what is radiobiology? Radiobiology is basically the study of action of ionizing radiations on living things. As you know, radiology developed from the discovery of X-ray in 1895 by William Conrad Roentgen. After that, the subject rapidly developed, and the field of radiology and radiotherapy, or the treatment of cancer by radiation, developed over the years. Now, when considering the treatment of cancer by radiation, we have to know what is ionization and what is ionizing radiation and what is excitation. The raising of an electron in an atom or molecule to a higher energy level without actual ejection of electrons is called excitation. In contrast, if the radiation has sufficient energy to eject one or more orbital electrons from the atom or molecule, the process is called ionization. And the radiation producing ionization is called ionizing radiation. So, basically, excitation involves the shift of one electron from one energy level to a next higher energy level. But ionization involves ejection of electron from the atom or molecule itself. And the radiation producing ionization is called ionizing radiation. When we consider of radiation, we think of commonly in two terms. One is particulate radiation and another is electromagnetic radiation. So what are electromagnetic radiations? Electromagnetic radiations, as we know from the idea of physics, are basically certain waves which have the common property of speed of 3 into 10 to the power 8 meters per second, the speed of light, and share certain common properties like they are not deflected by electric or magnetic fields, and they can travel in vacuum also. So when we think of electromagnetic radiations in radiotherapy, we think of basically two types of rays. One is X-rays, another is gamma rays. We commonly talk of an electromagnetic spectrum, which we know from our knowledge of physics. I will not go into detail into that, but coming to X-ray and gamma ray, they are both electromagnetic radiations and cannot be differentiated from each other than the fact that one is produced from nuclear phenomena and another is produced by, as we know, the production of X-rays. So gamma radiation, which is a nuclear phenomena, it occurs due to some radioactive decay. And X-ray production, as you know, occurs when a high voltage current is passed through a vacuum tube and they accelerate electrons to high energy and then stop suddenly in a target usually made of tungsten or gold. Part of the kinetic energy of the electrons is converted to what is called X-rays. Okay. So basically what from diagnostic X-ray, kilovoltage range, orthovoltage range, to the radiation using huge amount of energy, the megavoltage radiation as in radiotherapy, are basically similar, though this is much more complicated and the energy value is much higher, and similarly penetration is also much higher. Now, as I was talking, gamma rays are emitted by radioactive isotopes and they represent excess energy that is given off as unstable nucleus breaks up and decays in an effort to reach a stable state. As we know, the teletherapy machine we have is telecobalt. Means the isotope here is cobalt 60. Basically, cobalt 59 is the stable nucleus that is found in nature. When it is bombarded by a neutron in a reactor, the radioactive cobalt 59 cobalt 60 is produced. And it has a half-life of about 5.27 years at an energy value of average of 1.25 MV. Now, X-rays may be considered from two different standpoints. They may be considered as waves of electrical and magnetic energy. And also, X-rays may be thought of as stream of photons or packets of energies. This concept is similar to light energy. Light, as you know, is electromagnetic energy, and this can also be considered in two forms, in photons and packets or as electromagnetic waveform. Energy value of one radiation is h nu, where h is the Planck's constant, nu is the frequency. And higher the energy value, higher will the frequency, and higher the penetration. And we know frequency and wavelength are inversely related with each other. If the speed is constant, so if the frequency is higher, the wavelength will be less, and if the wavelength is higher, then the frequency will be less. In a given radiation of short wavelength, the frequency is large and the energy per photon is large. So in megavoltage radiations we used with a higher energy value, that means will be having higher frequency and lower or short wavelength. So as an example, I can say that from decreasing wavelength to increasing frequency to increasing penetrating power, we can say radio waves, microwaves, infrared radiation, visible light spectrum, then ultraviolet light, then X-rays, and ultimately the gamma rays. This is what we think of the electromagnetic spectrum. Now, what is kiloelectron volt? Kiloelectron volt is the energy possessed by an electron that has been accelerated through 1000 volt. Now, a few words about particulate radiations. Particulate radiations basically are radiations which are produced by electrons, photons, alpha particles, neutrons, or heavy charged particles. Electrons, as we know, they can be produced from linear accelerator or LINAC also. One head is used for production of X radiation, another head can be used for production of electrons. Electrons have certain advantages in radiation. They have short penetrating power and can be used for superficial treatment of cancer. So protons, next is protons. Because of their mass, they require much more complex and expensive equipment such as cyclotron. But now proton machines are being developed because of some favorable dose distribution, which you will come to know once you have an idea of what is called Bragg-Peak effect. That is, there is sudden cutoff of the dosage. Whatever other radiation, cobalt, gamma radiation we use, there is a effect even beyond the target volume. But in proton, this Bragg-Peak effect utilizes our effort to produce what is known as sudden cutoff of the dosage. So other important particular radiations are alpha particles and neutrons, and next is heavy charged particles. Heavy charged particles such as carbon, neon, they are positively charged from where electrons have been stripped off. Charged particles of enormous energy are encountered in space and represent a major hazard to astronauts. Now next, the effect of radiation body. If you have to think of that, we have to consider the absorption of the radiation, that is the absorption of X-rays. X-rays cause damage by two basic methods. One is the direct method, another is indirect method. What we have to understand, the radiation that we use clinically for patient treatment or patient care is basically utilizing its aspect in indirect radiation, indirect damage. Direct damage that you can think of in explosion in atom bomb, but there is large scale destruction and is not much helpful in clinical practice. Indirect damage caused by radiation, on the other hand, is useful as they cause certain damages which are sublethal and which is toxic to the tumor but allowing normal tissue to recover, which is the basic principle of radiation. You give the highest possible dose to the tumor tissue, and at the same time, you allow the normal tissue to recover so that the body can cope up with the assault of radiation. Another thing, interaction of radiation with matter, I will not go into details here, but you have to remember for high energy radiations like cobalt 60 unit or LINAC as used in modern radiotherapy, Compton process dominates. Compton process, here the photon interacts with free electrons. Electron whose binding energy is negligibly small compared to the photon energy. Part of the energy of the photon is given up to the electrons as a kinetic energy. The photon, with whatever energy remains, continues on its way, deflected from its original path. In place of the incident photon, there is a fast electron and a photon of reduced energy. So I can show you here, basically incident photon, then scattered photon and fast electron. This is the process that dominates in clinical practice. So what happens? Photon interacts with the free electrons, that is in the orbital electrons, an electron whose binding energy is negligibly small compared with the energy of the photon, incident photon. Then part of the energy of the photon is given to the electrons as kinetic energy, and it goes off as fast electron, deflected from its original path. The photon is also scattered. One thing to remember is that the mass absorption coefficient for the Compton process is independent of the atomic number of the absorbing material. On the other hand, the mass absorption effect of coefficient for photoelectric effect rapidly varies with the atomic number, in fact with the ZQ. Now coming back to the topic I was discussing, direct and indirect action of radiation. The biological effects of radiation principally results from damage to the deoxyribonucleic acid or DNA, which is a critical target. So for energy values of high energy values, linear energy transfer of high LET, direct action is considered. But here in our clinical practice, as I was saying, indirect action is clinically utilized. Here, radiation may interact with other atoms or molecules in the cell, particularly water molecules, to produce free radicals that are able to diffuse far enough to reach and damage critical structures. This is called indirect action. What is free radical? A free radical is an atom or molecule carrying an unpaired orbital electron in the outer shell. Now, body contains 80% water. So, most of the indirect action we can considering water as a model. So, by the action of indirect action of radiation, water molecule splits into H2O plus electron. That is, water molecule may become ionized. An ion is an atom or molecule that is electrically charged because it has lost an electron. So, H2O is equal to H2O plus electron. So, it has ionized water molecule. A free radical contains an unpaired electron in the outer shell, making it highly reactive. H2O plus is charged and has unpaired electron. Consequently, it is both an ion and a free radical. In case of water, the ion radical reacts with another water molecule, that is the H2O plus reacts with another water molecule to form highly reactive hydroxyl ion. So, H2O plus H2O is equal to H3O plus hydroxyl ion. The hydroxyl radical possesses 9 electrons, therefore one of them is unpaired. It is highly reactive free radical and can diffuse a short distance to reach a critical target in a cell. It is estimated that about 2/3 of the X-ray damage to the DNA in mammalian cell is caused by the hydroxyl radical. So to sum up, for indirect action of X-rays, the chain of events from absorption of the molecule, absorption of the incident photon, to the final observed biological damage may be described as what I am describing. So incident X-ray or photon, formation of fast electrons, formation of ion radicals, formation of free radicals, chemical changes from the breakage of bonds, and this causes the biological effects. So to sum up these processes, X-rays and gamma rays are indirectly ionizing. The first step in their absorption is the production of fast recoil electrons. Neutrons are also indirectly ionizing. The first step in their production is the production of fast recoil protons, alpha particles, and heavier nuclear fragments. Biologic effects of X-rays may be caused by direct action. The recoil electron directly ionizes the direct target molecule, or indirect action. That is, the recoil electron interacts with the water to produce an hydroxyl ion which diffuses to target molecule and cause damage. About 2/3 of the damage of biological nature is caused by indirect action of X-rays. DNA radicals produced by both direct and indirect action of radiation are modifiable with sensitizers or protectors. DNA lesions produced by high LET radiations involve large number of DNA radicals. Chemical sensitizers and protectors are ineffective in modifying such lesions. So, in this lecture, let us finish here regarding the basics of radiology. In the next topic, if I can go, I can deal with DNA breakage and cell cervical curve and basics of radiobiology further. Thank you. Let me know how you liked or understood this video and your suggestions. Thank you.